I have spent more than 4 decades watching numbers on glucose meters rise and fall, and I can tell you, there are moments when a single discovery changes the way you see the battle against diabetes. Tonight, I want to take you to that moment. Imagine living for years with the quiet strain of your body resisting its own insulin, like a locked door refusing to let the right key turn. Then one day, you come across a humble green leaf, nothing flashy, nothing expensive, that starts to open that door. Not in a dramatic overnight miracle, but in a steady, measurable way that you can feel in your morning energy, in your afternoon focus, and even in the way you sleep at night. This is the insulin leaf, known in botanical circles as Costus igneus, sometimes called the sugar plant. Researchers from small clinical trials and observational reports, including work referenced by the National Institutes of Health, have noted its unique bioactive compounds that seem to help the body use insulin more efficiently while slowing the absorption of glucose in the intestines. To put it simply, it is like turning a stubborn faucet so that sugar trickles into your bloodstream instead of gushing all at once, giving your pancreas a fighting chance to keep up. I first heard about this plant from a patient who had grown it on her sunny kitchen windowsill. She wasn't a health guru or a gardener, just someone desperate to keep her numbers in check without adding more pills to her morning lineup. She told me that chewing 1 or 2 fresh leaves before breakfast made her daily glucose readings less erratic. Skeptical but curious, I began reading case reports and trying it with a small group of volunteers under careful monitoring. Within weeks, many of them saw modest but steady drops in both fasting glucose and post-meal spikes. These weren't wild claims, they were changes confirmed on lab reports, the kind you can hold in your hand and compare. That's when I knew this wasn't just folklore. It had genuine potential as part of a broader plan. In my own kitchen, I found the leaf to be surprisingly versatile. You can chew it fresh in the morning, brew it gently into a tea, or even blend it into a smoothie with berries for a mild, earthy note. For those who can't find it locally, there are reputable American suppliers offering dried leaves and capsule extracts, but quality matters, because the concentration of those beneficial compounds can vary widely. A patient once ordered a low-grade powder online and saw no benefit, then switched to a lab-tested product and finally noticed a difference. Like with any supplement, consistency and sourcing are critical. It's important to understand that this is not a license to abandon medication or ignore diet and exercise. In fact, the best results I've seen are in people who use the insulin leaf alongside a balanced diet rich in fiber, regular movement, and consistent sleep. It also has secondary benefits worth noting. Early studies suggest it can help lower LDL cholesterol, calm low-grade inflammation, and even improve digestive function, 3 areas often stressed in people with metabolic disorders. That said, this is a powerful botanical, and power comes with responsibility. If you're already taking medication for diabetes, this leaf can amplify their effects, so it is essential to coordinate with your healthcare provider before making it part of your routine. I tell my patients that nature offers us tools, but it is our job to use them with wisdom. For those who have access to fresh leaves, the plant is hardy, easy to grow in a pot, and forgiving to beginners thriving on a sunny porch or a bright kitchen window. Having it within reach turns it from an exotic curiosity into a daily habit, a small act of self-care you can literally pluck and use. I've watched enough lives change to believe this little leaf deserves a place in the conversation about managing blood sugar naturally. It may never replace the cornerstones of medical care, but for the right person, it can be the quiet ally that helps tip the scales back toward balance. And sometimes, that balance is exactly what keeps you living the life you want, not the one dictated by your glucose readings. Over the years, I've met countless patients who believed they had mastered their diabetes because they ate carefully, counted every carb, and avoided sugary drinks. Yet their glucose numbers told a different story. That is the quiet trap. No one warns you about you can have the most disciplined plate in the room, but if the rest of your life is working against you, your blood sugar will still rise like a tide you cannot hold back. What I have learned is that the body is a symphony, and food is only one section of the orchestra. If the other instruments are out of tune, the music will never sound right. One of the most powerful instruments you can bring into harmony is movement. I am not talking about marathon running or punishing workouts. I mean the kind of steady, regular activity that wakes up your muscles and teaches them to use glucose like fuel instead of letting it idle in your bloodstream. Research from the American Diabetes Association has shown that even light activity, like a slow walk after dinner, can lower post-meal glucose by as much as 20%. I have seen this happen in real time when a patient checked their levels before and after a walk, eyes widening at the drop they never thought possible without medication. Sleep is another conductor in this orchestra. Lose it, and your hormonal rhythm turns chaotic. Harvard Medical School points out that inadequate sleep raises cortisol and disrupts insulin sensitivity, creating a double punch to glucose control. I remember one retired firefighter who swore he was fine on 5 hours a night. His numbers told a harsher truth. Once he committed to a solid 8 hours, his morning glucose dropped by double digits without changing a single bite of food. Then there is water. Your blood is a river, and when it runs low, the sugar in it becomes more concentrated, straining your kidneys and slowing circulation. Simply drinking enough throughout the day helps flush excess glucose through urine, a natural cleansing that works quietly in the background. Too often people think of hydration as optional. I see it as an unspoken pillar of metabolic health. Stress, though, may be the most underestimated saboteur. When your mind perceives danger, even if it is just a tense conversation or the evening news, it triggers your liver to release stored glucose for a fight or flight that never comes. The Mayo Clinic has documented how stress management techniques like breathing exercises or meditation can lower glucose in measurable ways. I have taught patients to pause for 3 deep breaths before every meal, and many tell me it changed their readings more than any recipe swap. Finally, the body thrives on rhythm. Eating, sleeping, and moving at consistent times creates a stability your hormones can trust. Think of it as setting your body's internal clock so it knows when to work and when to rest. This kind of predictability smooths out the highs and lows that make diabetes such an exhausting roller coaster. I often tell my patients, diet may be the foundation, but habits are the walls and roof that protect it. Without them, the wind gets in and the structure crumbles. Now that you understand the role of these often overlooked habits, you are ready for the final piece, a natural ally, so potent that when combined with these habits, it can shift your glucose control in ways you may have never thought possible. If you had told me years ago that a small crinkled nut could help calm the storm of high blood sugar, I might have raised an eyebrow. But time and patience have a way of humbling even the most seasoned doctors. Walnuts may look unassuming, yet they carry a nutrient profile so dense and balanced that I have come to think of them as tiny health vaults, each one locking away tools your body desperately needs to fight insulin resistance and inflammation. I first truly noticed their power when an accountant in his late 60s came into my office with lab results that puzzled me. His diet had not changed much, and his exercise routine was modest at best. But his fasting glucose had dropped, his triglycerides were lower, and his HDL, the good cholesterol, had climbed. When I pressed him for details, he shrugged and said, "I just started eating a handful of walnuts every day instead of my usual bag of pretzels." That small swap had quietly shifted his metabolism in the right direction. Science backs up what I saw in his chart. According to research published by Harvard School of Public Health, regular walnut consumption improves insulin sensitivity and lowers markers of inflammation, 2 key factors in managing type 2 diabetes. Their omega-3 fatty acids act like lubricants for the body's metabolic machinery, helping cells respond more effectively to insulin signal. The generous fiber content slows digestion, allowing glucose to seep into the bloodstream at a measured pace instead of flooding it all at once. I often explain it to patients like this. Picture your bloodstream as a busy highway. Without walnuts, sugar rushes onto the road in a chaotic surge, causing traffic jams that wear down your system. With walnuts, the on-ramp has a metered light, releasing cars at a steady, manageable pace. Your pancreas breathes easier, and so does your heart. In fact, the American Heart Association notes that walnuts help lower LDL cholesterol and protect blood vessels from damage, no small benefit given how closely heart health and diabetes are linked. Incorporating them into your day is almost effortless. Toss a few into your morning oatmeal, sprinkle them over a salad, or enjoy them alongside a piece of fresh fruit. The key is moderation. About one small handful a day, roughly an ounce, offers the benefits without tipping your calorie balance too far. I always recommend unsalted, raw, or lightly toasted walnuts to preserve their delicate oils and avoid excess sodium. Over the years, I have seen this small habit become a cornerstone for many of my patients. It is not flashy, it does not demand special equipment, and it will not empty your wallet. But in the quiet work it does, taming inflammation, steadying glucose, and sheltering your heart, it can make a profound difference. And when you weave it into the larger fabric of balanced eating, daily movement, and the other habits we have discussed, you create a shield against the relentless push of diabetes. I have always believed that some of the most powerful tools for health are hiding in plain sight, sitting quietly in our kitchens while we chase after exotic remedies. Natural yogurt is one of those quiet allies. It does not arrive with the drama of a superfood headline, but it has a way of working from the inside out, training your body to manage blood sugar more gracefully. I remember a retired teacher who came to me feeling stuck. She had cleaned up her diet, walked daily, even swapped her afternoon cookie for a handful of walnuts after hearing me speak. Yet her glucose numbers hovered just above where we wanted them. When we added a single serving of plain, unsweetened yogurt to her breakfast, paired with fresh berries and a sprinkle of cinnamon, something shifted. Within weeks, her morning readings dipped lower, her digestion improved, and she told me she felt lighter in a way she could not quite explain. The science helps make sense of her experience. According to Mayo Clinic, probiotics, the live beneficial bacteria in natural yogurt, help restore balance to the gut microbiome, which in turn influences how your body processes glucose. Think of your digestive tract as a factory line. When the right workers show up on time and in good numbers, the production runs smoothly, and the output, your blood sugar levels, stays steady. Probiotics improve this workflow by reducing low-grade inflammation, enhancing nutrient absorption, and even tuning the hormonal signals that govern insulin sensitivity. Protein is another key player here. Each spoonful of yogurt delivers high-quality protein that slows the digestion of any carbohydrates you eat alongside it. This acts like a brake on the post-meal glucose rise, giving your system more time to respond. Add to that a healthy dose of calcium and magnesium, both essential for proper pancreatic function, and you have a food that nourishes the very organ responsible for producing insulin. Harvard Health notes that adequate calcium intake is linked to better metabolic control in people with type 2 diabetes. But not all yogurts are created equal. The ones I trust have no added sugar, no artificial flavors, and no long list of unpronounceable ingredients. Whole milk yogurt often offers a creamier texture and better satiety, and when paired with fruit or seeds, it becomes a balanced mini-meal that satisfies without spiking glucose. For those who are lactose intolerant, lactose-free versions or plant-based yogurts fortified with probiotics can deliver similar benefits. Over time, I have seen natural yogurt become more than just a breakfast choice. It becomes a daily anchor, a simple ritual that supports gut health, muscle preservation, and blood sugar stability all at once. When combined with the steady nourishment of walnuts and the other habits we have discussed, it weaves another thread into the strong net that holds diabetes in check. And as we continue, you will see how each of these choices stacks together, preparing the ground for the surprising foods still to come. For years, Many of my patients believed that anything sweet on the tongue was dangerous for their blood sugar. That is why they are often surprised when I tell them that a sweet, buttery slice of baked sweet potato can actually be a friend, not a foe, in the fight against diabetes. It is one of those rare foods that satisfies comfort cravings while quietly working to keep glucose steady. I still remember an older gentleman named Frank who swore off all starchy vegetables after his diagnosis. At his wife's urging, he reluctantly added a small serving of roasted sweet potato to his dinner twice a week. 3 months later, not only had his A1C dropped, but he told me he no longer experienced the mid-evening sugar crashes that used to send him rummaging through the pantry. That steady energy, he admitted, made him feel like he had taken back a piece of his old life. The science behind this is compelling. Sweet potatoes have a low glycemic index compared to regular potatoes, meaning their natural sugars are absorbed slowly into the bloodstream. I often explain it like this. Imagine pouring water through a thick sponge instead of a funnel. The sponge representing the fiber in sweet potatoes slows the flow, preventing a sudden surge. Harvard School of Public Health notes that diets rich in low GI foods can help improve overall glucose control and reduce the risk of insulin resistance. In addition to fiber, sweet potatoes are rich in vitamins A and C, potassium, and manganese. These nutrients support nerve health, immune function, and metabolism areas often strained in those managing diabetes. Potassium, in particular, helps counteract sodium's effect on blood pressure, a vital consideration since cardiovascular disease and diabetes often travel together. The way you prepare them matters. Baking, steaming, or roasting preserves their structure and keeps the glycemic impact low. Frying or loading them with sugar-laden toppings, on the other hand, turns a healthy choice into a metabolic challenge. I often suggest pairing sweet potato with a source of protein or healthy fat like eggs, grilled fish, or a drizzle of olive oil, which further slows digestion and keeps glucose levels on an even keel. Over the years, I have seen sweet potatoes do more than stabilize numbers. They help restore a sense of variety and enjoyment to the plate, proving that eating for diabetes control does not have to mean eating without pleasure. When woven into a balanced meal plan alongside the other allies we have discussed, they become one more sturdy link in the chain of daily choices that protect your health. And as we move forward, you will see how other unexpected foods can join this chain, each adding its own strength to your defense against high blood sugar. For decades, fat was painted as the villain of every health story. We were told to fear it, cut it, avoid it at all costs. But like so many lessons in medicine, time and evidence have rewritten that script. Coconut oil is one of those rare examples where a once misunderstood food has stepped into the role of an unexpected ally, especially for those looking to keep blood sugar under control. I first began recommending coconut oil after meeting a patient named Marjorie, a retired nurse in her early 70s who struggled with mid-afternoon crashes. She would eat a balanced lunch, but by 3 o'clock her energy would plummet, sending her reaching for crackers or candy. At my suggestion, she began stirring a teaspoon of virgin coconut oil into her morning oatmeal. Within weeks, she reported something remarkable: no more crashes, no desperate search for snacks. Her glucose logs confirmed it. The wild swings had flattened into a gentle curve. The secret lies in coconut oil's medium-chain triglycerides, or MCTs. Unlike the long-chain fats found in most oils, MCTs are processed differently by the body. Think of them as express passengers on a non-stop train to the liver, where they are quickly converted into energy instead of being stored as fat. This rapid conversion provides a steady fuel source without spiking blood sugar, giving your pancreas a much-needed break. The American Diabetes Association notes that improving insulin sensitivity is one of the key benefits of replacing certain fats with MCTs, and coconut oil is one of the richest natural sources. Coconut oil also supports weight management, which is critical for controlling type 2 diabetes. By promoting satiety, It helps reduce overall calorie intake without the feeling of deprivation. Pairing a small amount with high-fiber carbohydrates, like the sweet potatoes we discussed earlier, slows digestion even further, creating a meal that sustains energy for hours. Cardiovascular health is another area where coconut oil can shine when used wisely. Studies have shown it may help raise HDL, the good cholesterol, while maintaining or even lowering LDL when it replaces less healthy fats like margarine or hydrogenated oils. This balance matters deeply because heart disease remains one of the most dangerous companions of diabetes. Quality is non-negotiable. I tell my patients to look for extra virgin, cold-pressed coconut oil with no additives. And moderation is key. A tablespoon a day, divided between meals, is enough to reap benefits without tipping the calorie scale. Over the years, I have seen coconut oil transform from a feared fat into a trusted tool. It is not a magic bullet, but when folded into a thoughtful plan that includes balanced meals, regular activity, and the nutrient allies we have covered so far, it becomes another steady pillar holding your glucose control in place. And as we turn to the next chapter, you will see how a golden spice, long prized in kitchens and medicine cabinets alike, can add its own strength to this foundation. For most people, turmeric is just a jar of bright yellow powder tucked away in the spice rack, pulled out for the occasional curry or stew. But to me, it is something far more potent, a golden thread that can weave its way through your metabolism, calming the fires of inflammation that so often drive diabetes forward. I learned this lesson years ago from a Vietnam veteran named Robert who came to me with a stubborn case of insulin resistance. His diet was balanced, his activity level steady, yet his numbers refused to budge. On a friend's recommendation, he began stirring a half teaspoon of turmeric, along with a pinch of black pepper, into his morning tea. 6 weeks later, his lab work showed a modest but undeniable drop in fasting glucose, along with lower markers of inflammation. He told me, "Doc, I haven't changed anything else. It has to be that tea." The science supports his observation. Turmeric's active compound, curcumin, acts like a skilled mechanic inside your body, repairing the damage caused by chronic inflammation and restoring the sensitivity of your cells to insulin signal. The National Institutes of Health notes that curcumin can lower both fasting and post-meal glucose by modulating enzymes that control how sugar is released into the bloodstream. Its antioxidant power also shields critical organs, the pancreas, kidneys, eyes, and heart, from the oxidative stress that high blood sugar leaves in its wake. I often use this image for my patients. Think of your blood vessels as city streets. Over time, high glucose and inflammation scatter debris along the road, slowing traffic and causing blockages. Curcumin works like a street cleaning crew, clearing the way so nutrients and oxygen can flow freely again. But here is a detail many overlook: curcumin is notoriously hard for the body to absorb. Pairing it with black pepper, which contains piperine, can increase absorption by up to 20-fold. A sprinkle of pepper alongside your turmeric can make all the difference between a mild effect and a truly therapeutic one. In the kitchen, turmeric is versatile. Stir it into soups, stews, eggs, or even blend it into a smoothie with coconut milk and cinnamon for a warming, blood sugar-friendly drink. The key is consistency. A teaspoon a day, used regularly, works better than sporadic bursts. Of course, like any potent natural compound, turmeric is not for everyone. Those on anticoagulant medications or multiple diabetes drugs should speak with their healthcare provider before adding it daily, as it can enhance the effects of these medicines. Over the years, I have watched turmeric quietly earn its place alongside other trusted tools in diabetes care. It does not act alone, no single food or spice does, but when combined with healthy fats like coconut oil, fiber-rich carbs like sweet potato, and the right daily habits, it becomes another piece of a resilient, interlocking system. And in the next step, you will meet a tiny seed whose size belies its incredible power to stabilize your blood sugar. It is hard to believe that something smaller than the head of a pin could hold the power to steady your blood sugar, but that is exactly what chia seeds have been doing for my patients for years. They are the quiet workhorses of the nutrition world, so unassuming that most people pass them by in the grocery aisle without a second thought. One patient, a retired postal worker named Helen, began adding a tablespoon of chia to her morning yogurt after we talked about it in a routine checkup. She told me she expected nothing more than a little extra crunch, but after a month, her glucose log showed fewer spikes and dips, and she noticed she could go longer between meals without feeling shaky or ravenous. "It's like my appetite finally got the memo," she laughed. The magic of chia lies in its soluble fiber. When these tiny seeds meet liquid, they swell and form a gel, a slow-moving traffic system for carbohydrates. Instead of rushing into your bloodstream like a flood, the sugars from your food are released gradually, giving your insulin time to respond. Harvard Health Publishing notes that diets high in soluble fiber are associated with improved insulin sensitivity and lower post-meal glucose levels. And chia is not just about fiber. It is a rich source of plant-based omega-3 fatty acids, which calm inflammation and protect the delicate walls of your blood vessels. Think of omega-3 as a soothing balm for the microdamage that high blood sugar can cause over time. This dual action, slowing sugar's entry and protecting the body's infrastructure, makes chia a valuable addition to any diabetes-friendly plan. Incorporating chia is almost effortless. Stir it into water and let it sit for 15 minutes to create a hydrating gel. Sprinkle it over salads, blend it into smoothies, or mix it into oatmeal. The gel form is particularly effective before a meal, as it helps control appetite and smooths out the body's glucose response. Mayo Clinic also points out that regular chia consumption supports heart health, which is crucial for anyone managing diabetes. A word of caution: because chia can lower blood sugar, those on glucose-lowering medications should introduce it gradually and monitor their levels closely. Over time, I've come to see chia seeds as one of the easiest, most cost-effective ways to help stabilize blood sugar without overhauling an entire diet. They are a reminder that sometimes the smallest changes bring the most meaningful results. And speaking of small but mighty, our next stop takes us to a berry whose sweetness hides an impressive capacity to protect your heart and your glucose control. Most people think of strawberries as a summer treat, the kind of fruit you pile onto shortcake or swirl into ice cream. But in my practice, I have come to see them as one of the sweetest tools for taming blood sugar and protecting the heart. Their bright red flesh hides a complex chemistry that works quietly in your favor. I remember a patient named Carla who adored sweets but was terrified of the glucose spikes they caused. We started small, replacing her nightly dessert with a bowl of fresh strawberries topped with a dollop of plain yogurt. Within a few weeks, her continuous glucose monitor showed gentler rises after dinner, and she admitted she felt satisfied without the crash that usually followed her old desserts. The secret lies in strawberries' low glycemic index and high fiber content, which slow the rate at which sugars enter the bloodstream. But there is another layer. They are rich in antioxidants, called anthocyanins, compounds that give berries their vivid color and, according to research from Harvard Health, improve insulin sensitivity while reducing inflammation in blood vessels. I often describe them as tiny bodyguards, patrolling the bloodstream to protect it from the wear and tear of oxidative stress. These same antioxidants are champions for heart health. The American Heart Association notes that regular berry consumption can help lower LDL cholesterol, improve arterial flexibility, and reduce blood pressure, all critical for anyone managing diabetes. When you combine these cardiovascular benefits with their blood sugar steadiness, strawberries become a dual-action ally. Eating them in their natural form is the best way to preserve their benefits. Pair them with a source of protein or healthy fat like almonds or a small piece of cheese to further smooth the glucose curve. Avoid drowning them in syrup or processed toppings, which can undo their natural advantages. For those concerned about pesticides, organic strawberries can be worth the investment, as they often top the list of produce with the highest pesticide residues. Over the years, I have seen strawberries do more than just fit into a diabetes-friendly meal plan. They bring color, flavor, and a sense of indulgence back to the plate, proving that eating for health does not have to mean eating without joy. And as we move forward, you will meet a spice with a fiery edge that not only warms your palate, but also helps your body fight inflammation and keep glucose in check. For most of my life, I thought of ginger as nothing more than the warming spice that made gingerbread smell like the holidays. But in my years of working with patients struggling to control their blood sugar, I have learned that ginger is far more than a flavor. It is a quiet healer with the power to ease inflammation, steady glucose, and soothe digestion all at once. I met Thomas, a retired bus driver in his late 60s, during a particularly cold winter. He had been dealing with unpredictable blood sugar swings and persistent bloating. On a hunch, I suggested he start each morning with a cup of ginger tea made from fresh slices steeped in hot water. Within a month, his glucose readings were less erratic, and he told me his stomach felt calmer than it had in years. The secret to ginger's effectiveness lies in its bioactive compounds, particularly gingerols and shogales. These compounds act like peacekeepers in the body, calming the low-grade inflammation that can block insulin from doing its job. Mayo Clinic notes that by reducing inflammatory markers, ginger can improve the way cells respond to insulin's signal, helping glucose move out of the bloodstream and into the cells where it belongs. I often compare it to clearing snow off a driveway in the middle of winter. Without that clearing, cars your glucose molecules have no way to get to their destination. Ginger acts like the snowplow, making the path open and smooth. Ginger also supports digestion, which can indirectly help with glucose control. A more efficient digestive process means carbohydrates are broken down and absorbed in a steadier, more predictable way, avoiding sharp spikes. It can also ease nausea, a benefit for those who experience stomach upset from certain diabetes medications. Incorporating ginger is simple. Add it fresh to soups or stir-fries, blend it into smoothies, or brew it into tea. For a stronger therapeutic effect, fresh ginger is best, though powdered forms still offer benefits. And while it is generally safe, anyone taking blood thinners or multiple glucose-lowering medications should check with their healthcare provider before using it daily, as ginger can enhance these effects. Over time, I have seen ginger earn a place in many of my patients' routines, not just for the numbers on their glucose meters, but for the comfort it brings to the whole digestive system. And in our next step, we will turn to a humble breakfast staple that, when chosen and prepared wisely, can be one of the most reliable ways to keep blood sugar steady from morning until night. For years, I have told my patients that breakfast is more than just the first meal of the day. It is a chance to set the tone for every glucose reading that follows. And one of the most reliable ways to do that is with a bowl of hearty, unprocessed oats. I met Laura, a retired school principal, who came to me frustrated by her unpredictable blood sugar. She had tried skipping breakfast, loading up on protein shakes, even eating fruit alone, but nothing kept her numbers stable. When she swapped her usual morning fare for a serving of steel-cut oats topped with walnuts and fresh berries, the change was dramatic. Within weeks, her post-breakfast spikes flattened, and she felt full and focused until lunchtime. The secret is in the beta-glucan, a soluble fiber in oats that forms a gel-like substance in your digestive tract. I often explain it as a protective net strung across a river. Instead of letting all the glucose rush downstream into your bloodstream at once, the net slows the flow, releasing it gradually so your insulin can keep pace. Health has documented that beta-glucan not only improves blood sugar control, but also lowers LDL cholesterol, making it a powerful ally for heart health, an essential priority for anyone managing diabetes. Oats also support weight management by promoting satiety, which can help reduce overeating later in the day. The American Heart Association points out that diets rich in whole grains like oats are associated with lower risks of heart disease and better overall metabolic health. But not all oats are created equal. Steel-cut and old-fashioned rolled oats retain their natural structure and fiber, providing the slow, steady energy you want. Instant oats, especially flavored varieties, often come loaded with added sugars and lose much of their beneficial texture, leading to faster glucose absorption. I always advise preparing oats plain, then adding your own toppings, nuts, seeds, fresh fruit, and spices like cinnamon to keep them both satisfying and blood sugar friendly. Over the years, I have seen oats become a cornerstone in many of my patients' morning routines. They are inexpensive, versatile, and deeply nourishing, offering a steady start that carries you through the day. And as we move forward, you will see how one particular spice, warm, aromatic, and already sitting in most kitchens, can enhance both the flavor of oats and their ability to keep your blood sugar in check. There is a certain magic in cinnamon the way its warm, sweet scent can make even the simplest meal feel comforting. But beyond its place in apple pies and holiday lattes, cinnamon carries a quiet strength that can help the body respond to insulin more effectively and keep blood sugar on a steadier course. I think of Sarah, a retired librarian in her 70s who struggled with high morning glucose despite a clean diet. On my suggestion, she began sprinkling half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon onto her bowl of steel-cut oats each morning. A month later, she showed me her glucose log with a smile. Her fasting numbers had dropped, and the post-breakfast spikes that once defined her mornings were far less dramatic. The science backs her experience. According to the Journal of the American College of Nutrition, cinnamon contains bioactive compounds that mimic insulin and enhance the body's ability to transport glucose from the bloodstream into the cells. I often describe it as a helpful messenger knocking on the door of your cells, reminding them to open up and let the glucose in. This improved sensitivity means the pancreas can produce less insulin to achieve the same result, reducing strain on the organ over time. Cinnamon also boasts strong antioxidant properties, which help neutralize the oxidative stress caused by chronic high blood sugar. Mayo Clinic notes that these antioxidants can protect blood vessels, lowering the risk of complications like heart disease, a concern that is never far from my mind when advising anyone with diabetes. Incorporating cinnamon is easy and inexpensive. Stir it into oatmeal, sprinkle it over yogurt, blend it into smoothies, or add it to savory dishes like roasted carrots or stews. The key is using Ceylon cinnamon when possible, as it contains lower levels of coumarin, a compound that, in large amounts, can affect the liver. A half to 1 teaspoon daily is both safe and effective for most people. Over the years, I have watched cinnamon do more than flavor food. It adds another subtle, steadying force to the diet, complementing the benefits of whole grains like oats and nutrient-rich fruits like berries. And as we continue, you will see how a humble green vegetable, often overlooked as just a side dish, can actually be a powerful ally in the fight against high blood sugar. For most people, broccoli is just another green vegetable on the dinner plate. Healthy, yes, but hardly exciting. Yet in my years of practice, I have learned that these tender green florets are far more than a side dish. They are a powerful filter for your bloodstream, quietly working to lower inflammation, improve insulin sensitivity, and keep glucose in check. I remember John, a 72-year-old retired mechanic who confessed to hating vegetables. But after a mild heart scare, he was ready to try anything. We started with something simple, adding a half cup of steamed broccoli to his dinner 3 nights a week. 2 months later, his lab results told the story: lower fasting glucose, better cholesterol numbers, and improved kidney function. "I didn't think a vegetable could do that," he said, shaking his head. The secret is sulforaphane, a compound abundant in broccoli and other cruciferous vegetables. Johns Hopkins research has shown that sulforaphane activates a set of protective enzymes in the body, reducing oxidative stress, and improving how cells respond to insulin. I often tell patients to imagine their cells as windows clouded with dirt and grime. Sulforaphane works like a gentle but effective cleaner, wiping away the buildup so insulin's message can get through. Broccoli is also rich in soluble fiber, which acts like a sponge in your digestive tract, soaking up excess glucose and slowing its release into the bloodstream. This not only helps with glucose control, but also feeds beneficial gut bacteria, which play a surprising role in metabolic health. The American Diabetes Association notes that diets high in non-starchy vegetables like broccoli are linked to lower risks of heart disease and diabetic complications affecting the eyes and kidneys. To get the most from broccoli, preparation matters. Light steaming preserves both the sulforaphane and the vitamin C that helps activate it. Overcooking can reduce these benefits, so I recommend cooking until just tender crisp. For added flavor and synergy, toss it with a drizzle of olive oil and a sprinkle of garlic or lemon zest. Over time, I have seen broccoli shift from an afterthought to a cornerstone in my patients' meal plans. It is affordable, widely available, and brings a powerful combination of nutrients to the table. And as we move forward, we will explore how another plant, small, humble, and packed with protein, can help stabilize blood sugar while offering lasting energy throughout the day. When most people think of powerful tools for blood sugar control, they picture exotic supplements or expensive superfoods. Rarely does anyone imagine that something as humble as lentils could be part of that list. But in my years of working with patients, I have seen these small, earthy legumes act like a steadying hand on the body's glucose response. I recall Linda, a 70-year-old former accountant who often experienced sharp post-lunch glucose spikes. We replaced her usual sandwich with a warm lentil salad mixed with roasted vegetables and a splash of olive oil. The results were almost immediate. Her afternoon numbers smoothed out, and she told me she felt calm energy instead of the jittery highs and sudden crashes. The key is in lentils' unique balance of plant-based protein and soluble fiber. Harvard researchers have shown that this combination slows the digestion and absorption of carbohydrates, allowing glucose to enter the bloodstream gradually rather than all at once. I often compare it to a well-paced conversation. Instead of a rushed shout, your body has time to listen and respond, keeping the metabolic dialogue smooth. Lentils also provide a wealth of minerals like magnesium, potassium, and iron. Magnesium in particular plays a critical role in insulin function, acting like a co-pilot that helps the hormone guide glucose into the cells. The American Diabetes Association highlights magnesium-rich diets as being linked to lower rates of insulin resistance and better overall glucose control. From a culinary perspective, lentils are incredibly versatile. They cook quickly without soaking, making them ideal for soups, stews, salads, or even as a base for veggie burgers. Pairing lentils with vegetables like broccoli creates a nutrient-dense, fiber-rich meal that supports both heart and metabolic health. Over the years, I have found that lentils not only help manage blood sugar, but also bring variety and warmth to the plate. They are proof that you do not need to break the bank or hunt down rare ingredients to build a diet that protects your health. And as we move forward, we will turn our attention to a drink that has been cherished for centuries, one that can energize the mind while quietly supporting your glucose balance. For centuries, green tea has been celebrated for its calming aroma and gentle energy. But in the last 2 decades, science has confirmed what tradition always suspected, that this simple drink carries compounds with the power to protect the heart, steady blood sugar, and calm inflammation. I think of Robert, a retired history professor, who came to me with a stubborn case of prediabetes. He was reluctant to add more medications, so we looked at lifestyle first. One change stood out: swapping his mid-morning coffee for a cup of freshly brewed green tea. 3 months later, his fasting glucose had dropped by several points, and his blood pressure had improved. He told me, "I didn't think tea could be medicine, but here we are." The secret lies in epigallocatechin gallate, or EGCG, the most potent catechin in green tea. Harvard researchers explain that EGCG enhances insulin sensitivity, helping cells respond more efficiently to the hormone signal. I often describe it like this: if insulin is the key and your cells are the locks, EGCG helps oil the mechanism so the key turns more smoothly. The result is better glucose uptake and less strain on the pancreas. EGCG also works as a powerful antioxidant, reducing oxidative stress that damages blood vessels and accelerates the complications of diabetes. The National Institutes of Health notes that regular green tea consumption is linked to lower risks of cardiovascular disease, which is crucial since heart health and blood sugar control are deeply connected. Drinking green tea is simple, but quality matters. Loose-leaf varieties or high-grade tea bags brewed in hot, not boiling, water for 2 to 3 minutes preserve the delicate catechins. Adding sugar or sweetened creamers, however, can cancel out the benefits. For those sensitive to caffeine, switching to decaffeinated green tea still provides much of the antioxidant power without the stimulant effect. Over time, I have seen green tea become more than a drink for my patients. It becomes a daily ritual, a pause that nourishes both body and mind. When paired with the fiber of lentils, the nutrient density of broccoli, and the other allies we have discussed, it adds yet another steadying force to the day's rhythm. And now, as we draw all of these pieces together, it is time to see how they form a cohesive plan, one that not only manages blood sugar, but also restores vitality, confidence, and joy in everyday living. Over the years, I have watched countless patients walk through my door feeling defeated, convinced that a diabetes diagnosis meant giving up the foods they loved and bracing themselves for a life defined by strict rules and endless restrictions. But time and experience have taught me that managing blood sugar is not about deprivation. It is about making a series of deliberate, empowering choices that work together like the gears of a finely tuned clock. Each of the foods we have explored: walnuts, natural yogurt, sweet potatoes, coconut oil, turmeric, chia seeds, strawberries, ginger, oats, cinnamon, broccoli, lentils, and green tea plays its own distinct role in that clockwork. Walnuts supply healthy fats that keep hunger steady. Yogurt rebuilds the gut microbiome, shaping how the body processes glucose. Sweet potatoes offer slow-burning fuel, while coconut oil delivers clean energy without the spikes. Turmeric sweeps away the inflammation that clouds insulin's message, and chia forms a fiber-rich net that slows sugar's entry into the bloodstream. Strawberries sweeten the day while protecting the heart. Ginger calms both the digestive system and the chronic inflammation that undermines glucose control. Oats lay a foundation of steady morning energy, and cinnamon fine-tunes insulin's efficiency. Broccoli cleanses the body at a cellular level. Lentils provide plant-based protein and minerals that fuel insulin's work, and green tea infuses the system with antioxidants that support both heart and metabolic health. The beauty of this approach is that it is not about a single miracle food. It is about creating layers of support nutrients, fiber, healthy fats, and bioactive compounds that collectively stabilize blood sugar and protect against the damage high glucose can cause. When you weave them into your meals consistently, you create a safety net that catches you before the swings, and crashes can take hold. What I have learned from my patients is that these changes also restore something less tangible, but equally important: a sense of control. The act of choosing foods that serve your health becomes an act of self-respect. The steady energy, the improved lab results, the fewer doctor visits, these are the measurable wins. But the deeper victory is the return of confidence, knowing you can sit down to a meal without fear of what it will do to your body. This is not a quick fix, and it does not happen overnight. It is a journey, one meal and one choice at a time. But if you commit to it, if you allow these simple, powerful foods to take their place in your daily routine, You will not only see the numbers on your glucose meter improve, you will feel the difference in every step you take. Every morning you wake up with steady energy. Every moment you realize you are living not in the shadow of diabetes, but in the light of your own resilience. And that, in the end, is what this whole plan is about. Not just controlling blood sugar, but reclaiming the full, vibrant life that is still yours to live.